Hey, adoption community, Bryan Post here. Glad to be able to answer questions for you all today. This is our last question for the adoption community, one of the fastest growing adoption communities on Facebook for support, education, and resources, as well as connection. And I'm happy to be here. So the last question comes from Anonymous, and it is, how do I know if I'm enabling versus meeting the needs of my 16 AS? Now, I'm not sure what AS means. In my world, AS could be autism spectrum. It could be, I don't know. So I'm a little bit at a loss there. I don't know if I want to say more. Okay, that's fine. So, and then I got another acronym, TYIA. I'm 52 years old. I'm just not up on all the acronyms, so I apologize. My kids use them. Half the time I'm like, what does that mean? So we're going to stick with the first part of this question. How do I know if I'm enabling versus meeting the needs of my 16-year-old? So that's an important question. And here's the way I'm going to answer it. If you feel a level of anxiety, if you feel a level of urgency, a level of stress, even a level of insecurity, when you are trying to meet the need or accommodate your child, then you probably are doing it from a place of insecurity. And that is what's going to generate enabling. A lot of parents enable, and they think that what they're doing is just taking the best possible care of their child. But when you are enabling, you're actually operating from a place of insecurity. It's actually a place of stress and a place of fear, which usually comes from some deeper sense of insecurity within yourself. And then we create a pattern that is really hard for us to break. When you're meeting the need, that is going to come more from a place of certainty, a place of security, and a place of regulation. It's a more calm place. It's not going to feel frantic. It's not going to feel like you can't breathe if you don't get this taken care of for your child. It's going to feel more along the lines of, I'm meeting your need. We're good. We're going to work through this. I'm listening. Help me understand what it is you need. Help me think through this, and then I'll act accordingly and try to get you taken care of. So that's probably one of the fundamental ways I would suggest approaching that challenge that you're feeling. My other thought I have about enabling versus need meeting is that a lot of times when parents are trying to practice a fear to love approach, a love-based approach, a more regulated approach to working with their children, they mistake the process of setting limits and holding limits versus giving in. So a lot of times we set limits, but as soon as our children press against them, our own parental guilt and anxiety shows up, and then we collapse the limit. Therefore, we never give the child the opportunity to learn and to be taught, which is actually the entire point of a limit. When you set a limit, it's not about whether or not your child likes it. It's not about whether they get upset or say mean things or resist or throw tantrums. What it's about is you set a limit and you teach them by holding the limit. And if they go over the limit, then you take responsibility by readjusting the limit and getting back to the teaching. It has very little to nothing to do with what their reaction about it is. So then a lot of times we end up enabling because we'll set a limit or we'll say what we're not going to do, and then our child pushes up against it, which is usually a pattern that they've learned over years and years and years. If I can just ask 12 times, on the 13th time, my parent's going to allow me to do what it is that I want them to do or need them to do or have asked them to do. So I'm pretty certain in my own position as a parent when it comes to setting limits with my kids. If I say I'm going to do something, or if I'm not going to do something, it's pretty much it. There's rarely an instance where I'm going to back off of that. And if I do back off of it, then I hold myself accountable for having done that, and may even apologize for doing it, even though I said I was not going to do it. So there's that other component. And let me think if there's anything else. When it comes to meeting needs, I think that you have to really address for a 16-year-old, what does that actually mean? Does that mean preparing them food? Does that mean preparing them a food different than what everyone else is getting? Does that mean going above and beyond because you don't want them to be upset? So, if I'm going to meet your needs by preparing food for you. But am I going to prepare 3 different entrees because you don't like the entree that I'm preparing for everyone else? That's a question. The second question is, I'm preparing food for everyone else, but is meeting your need based on your sensory sensitivity, is it different? Then yes, I'm going to prepare a meal that is more appropriate for your sensory process. I'm not going to try to make you eat spaghetti if I know that you have a sensory resistance to noodles. So I might prepare hamburger meat and the sauce for you, along with French toast or something, because I know that that's what your palate can handle from a sensory integration standpoint. So there's also that to consider. I hope that's helpful. I wish I knew what that AS was, but I'd be happy to speak to this further if you have comments. And with any of these questions that you all have listened to and these answers that you've listened to, if you have further comments, please comment. Joanne, who's our moderator for the adoption community, she'll keep track. She'll notify me. I'm happy to give more feedback, and hope to be able to do this for you all on a regular basis. I think the adoption community is a fantastic resource for adopted parents. And I also want to encourage you, if you are not already a member of Bondify, you should go to bondify.ai, and it is also a community for adopted parents, but it is led by my AI-powered support app. So if you have questions, just like all these questions, and what I'm probably going to do when I get a minute is run through these same questions, run them through Bondify, see what Bondify would say, because it should essentially say what I would say. And a lot of times it says even better. So I'm going to see what Bondify says, and then we might post those just as an interesting little reflection on just how powerful Bondify is. And it also has a community inside of it, as well as lots and lots of resources, videos that I've done. We're started uploading the Parenting Matrix, a new program I've created. There's a lot of other programs that I've got in there, so you can continue to get the repetition and the feedback. So God bless all of you. You're fantastic parents. I think you're superstar parents. I'm happy that you have a community like the adoption community. I wish my parents had had something like that when we were children, going through everything that we went through. But if we had, then we probably wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be here today. So there you go. All right. God bless everyone. We'll talk to you soon.